Oh, other glasses, everyone, sorry. It's getting old. Notice is hereby given that the Zoning Board of Appeals of the Town of Islip will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, March 12, 2024, on the following applications at the times listed or as soon thereafter as they may be reached. At such time, all interested parties will be given an opportunity to be heard. Application number 135-24, Justin and Danielle Moore. Permission to leave pool patio having side yard of 1.3 feet instead of required 6 feet, and pool equipment having rear yard of 5.5 feet instead of required 6 feet. Residence A District, east side of Hubbs Avenue, 288.1 feet north of Lorry Way, Hauppauge.
Good evening. Just if you could give us your name and address, please.
Good evening. I'm Justin Moore of 329 Hubbs Avenue, Hauppauge.
Well, you're here for the pool patio.
Yes, sir.
No. Anyone else who would like to be heard in this application?
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Application number 136-24, Mergia Mindy Dumorny and Vicky Alexis. Permission to leave block walls on side property lines not having a required setback of 4 feet each. Residence B District, west side of Cone Avenue, 100 feet north of Palm Street, Central Islip.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Amy DeVito, Woodhull Expediting with offices at 800 Veterans Memorial Highway, Hauppauge, New York. We are here to legalize two block walls on each side of the home, and they're categorized as a block wall on the survey, but if you look at the pictures, you'll see that they are more like brick pillars with a decorative column in between. So this acts more like a front fencing than a wall. It is pretty low in height, I would say about 3.5 feet. And,
One picture of it. Do you have any other pictures?
oh yeah, we submitted a whole packet. I'm just going to give you the pictures of the wall. Please, thank you. The structure appears to be there since 2010, so it's been there for about 14 years. My client purchased a home about 1.5 years ago, so these pre-existed her ownership, and we are proceeding to legalize the wall along with a couple other things at the property. And I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have.
I'm trying to figure out what I have circled. Is that what it is?
I don't have my glasses, so I have to.
Sure. See what I circled? So these brick things. Pillars.
So you're asking us to approve the pillars or the whole wall?
It's the wall and the pillars.
What about the white in between?
Well, that's part of the structure. It was categorized as a wall on the survey, although it's not really a wall because you can, see through it.
What is it, decorative?
Yeah, it's just decorative.
These when they hold back brick walls and things.
The issue is always whether the wall is retaining anything. In this case, it's not retaining anything.
No, just decorative.
And it's not a site obstruction. It's in line with the house, yeah.
Height's not an issue.
Well, the height is only an issue because it's higher than 18 inches.
Right.
Planning, any comments on it?
The area impacted is where it's
Any other questions from the board?
Nope.
No? Anybody else like to be heard in this application? Okay, I'll take the motion.
Make a mo-
All in favor?
Aye.
Application is granted.
Thank you. Good night.
Application number 137-24, Michael and Joanne Ingham. Permission to leave shed having rear yard of 1.5 feet instead of required 2 feet, and patio on rear property line not having a required setback of 4 feet. Residence B District, northwest corner of Oak Neck Road and 5th Street, West Islip.
Good evening. I'm Joanne Ingham, and I live at 501 Oak Neck Road in West Islip.
Good evening, ma'am. You're here just on the shed and the patio?
Correct.
Any questions from the board on this?
Nope.
No? Planning, any questions on it? Anybody else like to be heard in this application? All right, I'll take a motion.
I'll make,
Yes.
We have to settle this.
I'll make a motion that we grant the application.
Can I get a second, please? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Application is granted.
Thank you.
Application 2-24, Mark Ketchum and Dana Annunziato. Permission to leave roofed-over entrance platform resulting in floor area ratio of 26.7% instead of permitted 25%, and patio having side yard of 3 feet instead of required 4 feet. Residence B District, west side of Willow Avenue, 153.1 feet north of Raymond Street, Islip.
I am Dana Annunziato. I live at 86 Willow Avenue, Islip.
Was it-
I'm sorry?
Yeah, I think the applicant,
Yeah, we didn't receive anything in the mail.
they
Okay.
didn't get their
We
public
weren't
notice.
aware.
Patio.
Correct.
No.
Anyone else that would like to be heard in this application?
Aye.
Thank you.
Application number 138-24, Roy and Sesame Matthews. Permission to leave driveway having front yard occupancy of 43.6% instead of permitted 40%. Residence AAA District, west side of Thompson Drive, 1,197.16 feet northwest of Manor Lane, Bay Shore.
43 and a half.
Okay, so
Good evening, sir. Give us your name and address, please.
It's Roy Matthews, 918 Thompson Drive, Bayshore, New York.
Thank you, Matthews.
I have on the one side, before it was paved, ladies were driving and they were taking out their sprinkler head and everything. So just on the top corner, it's more than 354 square feet. I think that's what the zoning board said. I just wanted permission to leave that. It's paved now.
Dave now?
354 feet extra.
could you, after a lot of debate and a lot of discussion, hand wringing, we went from 40 to 43.5.
Yeah.
43.5. Can you remove 1/10? That's it.
No.
43.5. You have 43.6. This way we'll keep it fair to
Did I say
everybody.
5?
Yes?
Well, we've got.
Remove, what is it, 1%?
Yeah. 1/10 of 1%.
It's already paved, so you
You take out a little, what's the point of us raising it to 43.5 where it doesn't last 30 days and now it's going to be 43.6?
Going.
Yeah, it'll keep going. So can you remove 1/10 of 1%? Yes,
Okay.
you can.
Yeah.
All right.
So what do I have to do after that? Just get surveyed and everything?
No. It'll be inspected.
Mr. Wex is going to come down there and inspect it.
I'm going to inspect it. It'll be inspected and then you'll be in compliance.
Okay,
You never have to see us again.
sounds good.
Lanny, do you have any comments on this? No. Is anyone else who would like to be heard in this application?
That is one.
Mr. Wexler, I'll take a motion.
I'll make the motion that we deny the application at 43.6, but grant it at 43.5 on the dot.
Thank you, sir.
Favor?
Aye, thank you.
Application is granted as modified.
And that's around.
Application number 53-24, adjourned from January 30th, 2024. Rosa Escobar, to renew permit for accessory apartment pursuant to Islip Town Code Section 68-616. Residence A District, northeast corner of Pine Acres Boulevard and Montauk Drive, Bay Shore.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Roxanne Trella, Dynamic Expediting Services with offices at 231 Islip Avenue, Islip, New York.
Good evening.
We're here today to renew the permit for the accessory apartment. The application was previously heard on January 30th of this year, and I believe that it was adjourned so that a code enforcement inspection could be completed. I was able to meet the code enforcement investigator assigned to this property. His name is John Feehan. I personally went to the site with him on February 23rd. He has written a report that the complaints were unfounded. He has forwarded his report to his supervisor, Robin Banson, who then in turn forwarded her report to the Zoning Board of Appeals so that it could be made part of the file. Yes.
Nope.
Is there anyone else who'd like to be heard in this application?
Aye.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Application number 139-24, Bayshore Terminals, Inc. Permission to subdivide lot into two parcels. Lot 1 to leave two-family dwelling on lot having area of 5,000 square feet where residential use is prohibited within Industrial 1 District. To install driveway leaving side yard of 1 foot instead of required 4 feet. And Lot 2 to leave 6-foot chain link fence having front yard of 1.7 feet instead of required 15 feet. Fencing in sight distance triangles and having barbed wire atop where prohibited. To leave shed having front yard of 1.9 feet instead of required 50 feet. To leave roof over having front yard of 34.6 feet and canopy having front yard of 15.9 feet instead of required 50 feet each. Canopy having height of 20.6 feet instead of permitted 18 feet. And to leave curb cut on proposed subdivision line not having required setback of 10 feet. Industrial 1 District, east side of Belford Avenue, 109.46 feet south of Reddington Street, through lot to Redmond Avenue, Bayshore.
Good evening. My name is Andrea DiNicola from the office of Eugene L. DiNicola, 200 Railroad Avenue. Andrea DiNicola, the office of Eugene L.
Just got another one.
DiNicola,
Thank you, Jeff.
200 Railroad Avenue, Sable, New York. For the applicant, Bayshore Terminals, Inc. We are here tonight on a subdivision, as shown on the screen.
Yes, I'm sorry, Mr. Could you speak a little louder? I'd like to hear every word you say.
I'm sure. We are here on a subdivision. We'd like to put in a line at the end of the 50-foot parcel by the house to sell the fuel oil terminal that's been there for 100 years. The house on the north has a 1966 non-conforming use. That's in your packet of materials. The packet of materials goes into the house, its creation, and its legalization. As far as the development, this developed on a 1908 subdivision map. The subdivision map laid out 25-foot lots south of Reddington on Belford, and we're a through lot from Belford on the west to Redmond on the east. Across the street from the subject dwelling are 3 improved parcels, 50 by 100. For reasons that I can only assume, and the chain of title does infer, there's a 1955 deed that 2 separate owners conveyed the house and 4 vacant lots to the fuel oil terminal. When the 1980 tax maps came out, it looks like it's one big conflated parcel. So in 1966, predecessor in title went to the building director in Islip, and Islip said, yes, no, the house is on 50 by 100. In your materials is the building director's declaration on 3 affidavits. So in 1966, this is an industrial 1 parcel. I don't agree with the zoning determination for a multitude of reasons, but certainly there was no merger as that legal doctrine is used, because Islip doesn't have a merger statute until 1997. We do have common ownership, and I think that is all that is reflected on tax maps. So I know back in April, I was at a meeting. Some of the people in this room were at that meeting, tried to explain it. I had 1928 zoning maps showing that this whole area was Residence B in 1928. Shortly thereafter, 1932 effective upzoning. well, change amendment to the zoning code actually downzoned it to industrial. That old industrial code still allowed a two-family residence, and the housing density was met. You needed 5,000 square feet for a two-family residence. That's what was there in 1931, and before. That was there in 1966 when it was declared, and that is there today. And that parcels, the house's use has not been used in conjunction with, in tandem with, or in support of the fuel oil terminal. It's a house, it's rented. It's a two-family house, it's rented. So that's about the house. And then we have the rest of the zone. So the zoning relief on the house actually, because it comes up as a subdivision. And the reason it comes up on a subdivision, because we have a 1966 nonconforming use declaration. We don't want to run the risk that we can just give a deed for the fuel oil terminal area, because planning would say that was an illegal subdivision. When we went up to the zoning department's like, you merged the uses. No, we did not merge the uses, okay? And then there is also a chain of title in your packet of materials. And that chain of title establishes the ownership for tax lots 653 and 652 for the house. Okay. Yeah. Correct. We're in industrial 1. Industrial 1. We want, no, it's 50 by 100, 5,000 square feet. We're coming here for a use variance, which is really difficult. And in the packet of materials, there is precedent for a use variance. Application of Maynor. It's the last item, I think, in your materials. But let me be clear. It looks like from that decision that the non-conforming house had to be reconstructed. So I'm here on a use variance to take it out of the vulnerabilities for the non-conforming use.
Can we do it this way, just, and then we'll get to the vulnerability?
Yeah.
We're seeing this for the first
I
time.
understand.
So, we can help us.
Okay.
There are 4 tests, 4 elements you need to establish a non-conforming use, correct?
We're not here for a non-conforming use.
You're here for a use variance.
Use variance.
So you have to show us that has no other value, right?
I can't. Let's just concede right up front. I can't. What I am saying, I'm giving you an alternative. You have jurisdiction for area variance relief to create the 50 by 100. I'm saying create, but acknowledge the 50 by 100 that was acknowledged in 1966. And that's dimensional relief.
I think I understand it. I don't.
Okay.
You're here for a use variance, but you're saying candidly, I can't prove.
Can't prove.
0 value, 0.
That's correct.
However, I think I can get in under an area variance, so let's scrap the use variance and we'll jump to the area variance.
Show like a lesser and included.
Okay, my question is it that fungible that you could just grab the one that helps? Isn't it either a use variance or an area variance? Or is it whichever seems to work? I just don't know off the top of my head. Can you just jettison one and it looks better for an area variance?
It looks better for an area variance, and the reason
I know it looks better, and we'll get to the reason so we have a good record. My question is, can you do that? Just ipso facto, I deem it now an area variance. It really doesn't work.
it's not ipso facto. I'm relying on the town records.
Okay.
The problem is what the tax map looks like. That was the problem for the planning department. That was the problem for the zoning department. So because they didn't see a separate tax map number for the house alone, like you have for the 3 across the street, they said, oh, must have been merged. And I can show you, there is documentary proof in your materials. This deed, I wish Ms. if Mr. Nicolio is here, it's called the sloppy double deed. The sloppy double deed is because two neighbors who own two separate parcels stuck their conveyances in one deed to the grantee. That's not a merger, that's just poor draftsmanship. Now, when they drew the map, they said, okay, we have filed map lots and this guy owns all this, and they just kept going around. It should have been two separate parcels back in 1955. And the chain of title shows, and I can go into the family history on the record now, as I do in my memorandum submitted to you and made part of this application, that in 1923, a woman solely was deeded lots 53 and 52. She builds her house. She's a married woman. She never conveys title to her husband. She keeps it. Her name is Mabel Chase. Mabel Chase owned the house on lots 653 and 652 from 1923 until her death in 1939. She dies intestate. Her husband inherits the house with their 3 children. He becomes the sole owner by 2 conveyances to his children. He remarries. He hooks up with the neighbor, Julia. They did that back then. Julia owned the 4 lots to the south. The 4 lots to the south, which now is in front of the garage. Julia never conveys her lots to her husband. They checkerboarded them, as we used to say, in single and separate before that went away. So Mark inherits and owns the house fully vested as of 1955 or before. Julia has her lots from 1945. No, I'm talking about this case. The chain of title. This is how I get to tell you that I have what I need for my house. I am giving the board the documentary evidence to show the house never merged. I don't need a subdivision. The planning department wants it because it would match the tax map and create yet a new number for the house. If you deny this, well, it's coming up as a subdivision. So my subdivision is going to get denied because then what happens is you don't give me the density for the house. The house is owned by the common owner, the applicant. Yes. They owned all the tax lots. There's 18 tax lots in that tax map 30.3. They do. Yes, with a rental permit. I think then what's going to happen is the planning board's going to deny the subdivision because the house doesn't have variance relief, because they look at it by today's metric, and you can't have a house in industrial 1. So I need this board to say the house is established as of 1966, and we go by the records, 50 by 100.
The building director, right, declared it to be a non-conforming use.
Correct.
You have the residence, you also have the fuel depot.
Correct.
You just want to recognize that they're being separated for.
That's correct. And in the certificate of occupancy gives all the structures, they're noted.
Nothing's going to change.
Nothing is going to change. Nothing. I'm not adding a use. I'm not taking away a use. I'm not adding a structure. I'm not taking away a structure. That's absolutely correct.
We're recognizing what they should have done in 1966.
Thank you, Mr. McCabe. Yes. I think that's where it really starts, yes, because that house should have been conveyed separately because he didn't own the 4 lots in parcel 2. I know who he is. Sure. I would.
So, following up on what that, if you grant this,
The fuel oil tank, they're retaining the two-family, yeah.
and so that imaginary line, the boundary and oh, you're down in my.
Okay, yes.
So the world doesn't change.
Nothing changes. It's just what you call it. I know.
Hear me?
The house is built prior to 1931, and I spoke to my client, and parts of the fuel depot there for 100 years, so they were there in the 20s. 100 years. No, Reddington. Reddington, also known as Moffett, I think. It's just a couple blocks west of Brentwood Road.
regards to some of the other variances, a lot of this stuff is.
That misses. Well, no, I do want to say something about the fuel terminals variances. So there's no sightline obstruction. The canopies, I just want to note on the canopies, there's two canopies that, okay, on the barbed wire fence. It's been there 100 years. It's only barbed wire. It's not razor wire. It is for security, but I'm not going to get, no, I'm not going to get. The fuel canopies, let me just make this one point. They're not canopies to keep you dry. They're canopies so when the fuel oil, which is what's stored here, fuel oil and diesel, no gasoline. The trucks have to pull onto a loading pad. The loading pad has a drain. Water and oil don't mix, and they don't want them to mix. So we have to keep them protected from the elements as best we can when loading the trucks. That's why the canopies, that's why the height of the canopies, because these are tall trucks.
The barbed wire, as far as the site triangle part, is
Correct.
Anyone else would like to be heard in this application?
Thank you, members. Have a good evening.
I'll take some direction.
Application number 140-24, Jawad Khan and Sarwat Nayab. Permission to erect second-story addition, leaving side yard of 13.3 feet instead of required 14 feet, and to leave driveway on side property line not having required setback of 4 feet. Residence B District, southeast corner of Bush Street and Pecan Street, Hauppauge.
Good evening, members of the board, Mr. Chairman, Ed LaCalzi, Fisher Car Engineering, CMA Group, for our client. Um, The homeowners lived in the community for a number of years, raising a family, but have currently run out of space in their home. The project started with the need to increase the size of what is probably the smallest house or tiniest house in Hauppauge. We have some photographs for you, if we don't mind, just to give you a clear picture of what we're proposing.
Do they want to go straight up?
Excuse me?
They want to go straight up.
Exactly.
You're only looking for a side yard variance?
0.7?
Well, we're looking for, we have 4 different variances. One is lot size. We're required for 7,500, we're providing 6,500, which is a reduction of about 12%.
You hear what
Oh,
our chairman
I thought it,
said? Not on the call of the meeting.
All of the meeting just says second story leaving side yard of 13.3 instead of required 14. The driveway on side property not having required setback of 4 feet.
Why would you need lot size relief? You have a CO, right?
I'm sorry, if you don't mind, can I just approach it?
Sure.
You're saying the balance.
Why would you need lot size relief? You have a CO for the house.
Well, our variance denial application, our denial letters stated basically that they were dying in certain areas. Respect to lot size.
But you didn't request that on the plan. Well, I mean,
I may have changed it.
I'm sorry.
Well, do you believe me?
We're not.
They don't need it. They have a CO. I don't know why they would need lot area or lot width.
So we're trying to say that there may not be an issue.
Yeah, no, I don't have a denial saying that you need it. It just says you need the side yard and the driveway.
Sorry, so it's just the driveway.
Yeah.
And the side yard.
It's trying to create more work.
So with respect to the existing driveway, it encroaches, I'm sorry.
I mean, I may have actually just be getting to it, but it's only understanding.
Yeah, there's basically nothing happening to it. Maybe later this is a paper road. It's along the adjacent property line. So there's no change in any of the existing improvements that are there. And at some point, I guess, they might make application to abandon the road, but other than that, no work is planned for the driveway. We researched with the highway department. They didn't seem to have any issue with the application. So, but I don't have any documents that state that. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So as stated, yes, the second floor is just going vertically up. It's not encroaching any further in its non-conforming use or setbacks. So therefore, our applications, we believe it's pretty simple. So, thank you.
Anyone else would like to be heard in this application?
Annie is taken up. Subject to the. Aye.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Application number 141-24, Anthony Passamano, permission to leave deck having second front yard of 9.9 feet instead of required 15 feet. Residence B District, northeast corner of Elliott Street and Milton Street, Islip.
How you doing?
Good evening, sir. Could you just give us your name and address?
Anthony Passamano, 45 Elliott Street, Islip, New York.
Thank you. You're just here to leave the deck having a side yard, a second front yard of 9.9 feet instead of required 15?
Yes,
How long has that deck been there?
it's been there for quite a long time. The property that,
Quite a long time. I mean, excess of 100 years.
I'd say 30 years.
Okay, that's quite a long time.
Yeah, the property dead ends in 3 directions. Straight down, dead ends that way, dead ends that way. So the doesn't disrupt anybody.
Okay.
There's sliding glass doors there, so,
How high is the deck?
um,
I believe it's 38 inches high. If I saw.
That's the- Any other questions from the board? Planning, any comments?
No, it's that unrelated.
No.
no, it's not overlooking anybody. People can't see it. It's dead end down there, dead end in three directions.
Practice your lacrosse in the backyard?
I used to, why?
No.
Anyone else would like
See
to
that?
make this application?
I can't see it from here, but if that. Okay,
Aye.
all right, thank you. Okay, thank you.
Application number 142-24, Karen Rincon and Dixon Sanchez. Permission to leave one-story addition, 10.3 by 17.3. Is there anybody here in that application? Try it again a little bit. Yep. Application number 143-24, Linda Breskin. Permission to erect roofed-over porch, 5 by 30.2, leaving front yard of 20 feet, and balcony, 2.5 by 26.2, leaving front yard of 22.6 feet, instead of required 25 feet each, resulting in floor area ratio of 35.54% instead of permitted 30%. Residence BA District, west side of Beachwald Avenue, 102.79 feet south of Bayview Walk, Seaview.
Good evening. Glenn Graham with Graham Associates, representing the Breskins. We're seeking two variances. One is for an open-aired front porch. The second is for the balcony above. The open-aired porch, I believe, is normally considered a permitted encroachment. However, we're above 30 inches from grade, so zoning department has asked us to apply for the variance. In the materials I handed up, I've highlighted the porch and the balcony. The second floor balcony is all of 2.5 feet just above the porch. It's more or less a Juliet balcony that you could stand on with a cup of coffee, but it's not wide enough to even put a chair on. It's more for architectural reasons than a deck to sit on. No, it actually is in the front yard, and the reason it's there, it looks out onto the bay. It faces northeast. Yeah, so it'd be facing towards the street, front yard. We're seeking a front yard variance. And when you're up in those bedrooms, you have a really great view of the bay up there. So it'd be a place for a morning cup of coffee to look at the bay. All that being said, I have 5 precedent on the same block, all within 500 feet, as close as 17 feet instead of the required 25. Actually, second floor deck's a full-on deck at 20.7, where this is just, like I said, it's a very 2.5 foot. And the lower level porch is open air, and we, covenant to remain unenclosed if the board sees fit to grant the application.
Photograph here of a house under construction.
Yes,
Do you see where I said? That's the balcony.
that is correct. Yes, this is a fire damaged house that we're reconstructing. It was really a FEMA lift.
And then there will be railing.
Yes, as shown on my diagram. No, it's actually a classic beach house, really nice. Well, of course. It's a bit more traditional than the modern ones that have been going up. The last part of the application was the FAR at 34%, well under the 40 that the board normally grants. Good.
Anyone else would like to be heard in this application?
Aye. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Application number 144-24, Kimberly Fiscaldo. Permission to erect second-story addition, leaving side yard of 13.5 feet instead of required 14 feet, front yard of 39 feet instead of required 40 feet. To leave portico having front yard of 36.1 feet instead of required 40 feet, in addition to detached garage 12 foot by 20.1 foot, having side yard of 3.3 feet instead of required 10 feet. All having floor area ratio of 28.8% instead of permitted 25%. To leave above-ground pool having side yard of 13.8 feet instead of required 14 feet. Pool deck having side yard of 8.6 feet instead of required 10 feet. Deck having side yard of 13.5 feet instead of required 14 feet. And driveway onside property line not having required setback of 4 feet. Residence A District, west side of Beatrice Avenue, 300 feet south of Rockaway Street, West Islip.
Good evening, distinguished board. My name is Michael Degnan. I'm a registered architect since 1992. I'm a principal at Long Island Architecture Studio, located 1943 Wantaw Avenue, Wantaw, New York. Brookhaven is also not nearly as distinguished as this board. Yes, sir. You ain't heard nothing yet. I'm representing Kimberly Fiscaldo, who is the homeowner. She's owned this property for almost 20 years. She's a full-time mom with 2 young teenage daughters making their way through West Islip Public Schools. They purchased the house again about 20 years ago with her husband, who is now deceased. Majority of the improvements that we're here for existed at the time she purchased the property, and others that her husband may have constructed more than 10 years ago. So all of the improvements currently on the house are 10 years or older. And the new second floor addition is just going vertically up of the existing house. Yes, we're not decreasing the side yard or front yard in any way. So that is that's a garage. There is a 1962, that garage was constructed as a single car garage. The original house was built in 54. Yes, there's a CO for the garage was constructed in 2 portions. So there is a CO, but it's in a different form than it was. It was originally a garage and a carport. Right now, the garage on the left side of the garage is a traditional garage, and then there's a storage on the right-hand side of the garage. The house it's currently 3.3 feet from the property line, and the structure is currently 520 square feet. So if the structure was 20 square foot less, the only requirement for the side yard would be 4 feet. No, I'm saying there is an original approval and C of O for. They rebuilt it and they. Well, because of its age, it was deteriorating, so the roof was leaking. No, they did not. No.
The applicant was granted the CO 3.3.
Well, in 2004, there was a C of O for, well, the garage and the carport has C of O for 2000, and since 2004.
Same footprint.
There was a connection, but yeah.
But what I'm saying is the CEO that was issued, not now.
It's been, yes, it's been modified in its current footprint.
So I mean, by all that's holy, go back to what the CEO rented before you made. The problem is the garage, little one-car garage is one thing. And you then extend it to make a little house. Whole different. That's the problem. Me, I mean, you were asking me now.
CEO references a one-car garage.
That's correct, yes, but this is, but again, it's the same location. I understand your point.
What they did. I know they want it.
Mm-hmm.
I just 2.3.
But, okay, so and I know this is not the answer completely, but if the garage was 500 square feet, then the zoning would allow that structure to be 4 feet. Okay.
Yeah.
Detached.
Right, he increased on the one.
Right, but the garage is attached to a living structure.
No, it's not, no, it's not.
He's saying it's storage, but it is additional structure. I get it, I'm not saying I
The
don't
car,
disagree.
no, the car,
Yeah.
the carport was converted to storage.
Nobody puts windows on door, and then it's a rich name, and then they have the little legal store. Right away. So. And then, yeah, it went from just a one-car garage, they increased the roof lines, a whole different structure.
Mm-hmm.
Apartment.
Yeah, it's an apartment.
No, well, I assure you, it's not an apartment. It's an area used for storage. The homeowner has a hobby that, she makes candles which is why the room needs to be conditioned, because in the extreme heat, the wax obviously would be a concern. It's not, it is, I've been in, it's not a habitable space. But like I mentioned, because of our client is here, she wants to step forward.
I understand, let's assume that we say, yes, we agree with you. Yes, only used for camera making. We don't have a separate.
Right, or storage for, right.
But once AC, this plumbing there, then it's not just storage, where you put your box. We have to set on our property. Again. So nobody sleeps. There's no plumbing, there's already nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's.
There is no plumbing. I can say for the record, there's no plumbing in the structure.
So
No, I see.
this does here, it was here. One car garage. They did change it. It's within the same general footprint. As far as precedent, there's exactly one side yard, something bigger garage. It is effectively a newer structure. It was CO'd, but the structure doesn't.
What do we do when next week? Somebody finds, I want to see here. Everything else. And it's 3 2.5.
I mean, I would just say in terms of the point that was denial, that was a firm that came to the zoning board, got an approval for something smaller and then built something larger. So they blatantly disregarded the board's wishes. In this case, the structure's been existing for over 10 years. There's never been any complaints by the neighbors.
Code.
Well, we didn't, it's not like they came and asked for permission for one thing and then built something totally different. Well, how about if we made the structure 22 feet smaller and brought it into so that the side yard setback permitted would be 4 feet. Is that, well,
4 feet. If you brought it-
the required side yard would be 4 feet if the structure were 499 feet or less.
Right, that's maybe something we could live with.
Right.
No, but.
No.
No.
We'd alter the structure.
Right, it's less than 75% at that point, less than 25%.
I would need to, I mean, I can. Right.
Light or black smoke comes from the chimney.
Right.
The applicant's client called the office, and she's really in need of getting the second story addition approved, right? She's really not.
Correct. Yeah, that's that.
Can I make a suggestion?
So if you're willing to agree to reduce the garage, then the board would just grant 3.3 instead of 4. And then as the board said, the remainder of the application is their small variances.
I would.
Suggestion, if you need, is your client here?
She is.
Why don't you go out, we'll go on, and then when we get back to you, we can finish it tonight, if she's agreeable.
Do you understand unless you have an answer now?
Anyone else here that would like to be heard in this application?
She understands.
You want to take?
Okay.
Why don't you go out?
Yeah, thank you.
5 minutes.
Thank you.
All right,
Yeah.
You at the back of the calendar.
Okay. Thank you.
She's already, I'll explain later.
Yeah.
Application number 145-24, Gracewood Estates LLC. Permission to leave 2 ground signs having sign area of 19 square feet where only 1 ground sign is permitted. Residence CA District, southwest corner of Wing and Hop Road and Spur Drive South, Islip.
Good evening. My name is Nicholas Pfluger, Bowler Pfluger Architects, 85 East Main Street, Bay Shore, New York, 11706. I'm the architect on the project, and I am here on behalf of the owners and operators of Gracewood Estates LLC. We're here tonight for a variance to have 2 ground-mounted signs at the main entry point to Gracewood Estates on Spur Drive, where only 1 is allowed. We do meet all other zoning requirements for the signs. The signs are also accompanied by some very nice landscaping in front of each and can only be viewed as you're passing by or entering the development. The signs cannot be seen from any single-family residential areas.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
19 square foot sign, what does the code permit? It's 1 at how many square feet?
I believe it's 16 square feet, but then they give some enlargements for landscape area, which is, I believe it was 20%. And if it's, yeah, so the allowable in our case is actually 20 square feet and we have 19 square feet. So that wasn't part of the variance. It was just the fact that we have 2 versus 1.
Planning, do you have any comments? Yeah. Is there anyone else who would like to be heard in this application?
Did he fall?
I'll take a motion on this application, please. All in favor?
Aye.
Application is granted.
Good evening. Thank you.
Got to do the walk and turn test.
He just. Application number 146-24, Caleb Hannaket, permission to leave driveway on side property line not having required setback of 4 feet. Residence A District, south side of Wall Street, 225.18 feet west of Carlton Avenue, East Islip.
Good evening, Caleb, 12 Wall Street, East Islip.
Do you have any comments on this?
I submitted photos that show that we have a 5.6 setback from the curb or from the street up to the property fence that's there now. And then it tapers because the property's not a true it's angled a little bit. So the property is about 180 feet deep and probably about 60% into the property, the driveway runs into the line.
What's that in the back? It's a garage?
That's a 4-car garage. It's been approved. Everything's done already. They're just holding up the CO just for this because they like me in the planning.
Is it not 4 feet at all anywhere, or is it just?
No, from the front of the property, it's 5'6", which you'll see in your packet, and approximately right here is where it's the property. Behind the fenced area as well. That's where it hits the property line.
Can they bring that in at that bell there, the curve?
We can. Doesn't really do anything it doesn't really do anything one way or the other. We're applying for this because it's already 50% into the property and it's not seen from the street. It's not visible. It's not
What's your feel on it? What is the driveway?
gravel.
Going to stay gravel, or is that?
Gravel. Yep.
Well, the concern would be drainage, since it's.
We have drainage in it. We have drainage in the driveway. And gravel's a permeable subject.
Sorry, we can't hear the planner.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know.
Gravel driveway is not really concerned. Right here, but asphalt. I'm looking on the wrong back up there.
Yeah, whether it's
Gravel driveway doesn't have. Alternatively, even 1 foot off property line.
It's literally Belgium block that would just, that they're triggering this
We're
variance.
afraid if it should become anything other than gravel and it rains, it'll flood the neighbor's property.
It does depend somewhat on whether they surface. In this case, you'd be correct, but if it were the solid asphalt, it would have to run off.
Yeah. Well, everything in addition was built.
How about if we were to grant this, but make it a condition that it stay gravel? You not make it,
I have no intention of paving that driveway.
then it's easy for you.
Yeah.
Does anyone else would like to be heard in this application? All right,
Heard about that beagle.
take a motion.
To grant the application, provided that the driveway remain gravel.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application. That's it, we're good.
Oh, okay.
And Bill, got it. Application number 147-24, Jose Padilla Mendoza, to renew permit for accessory apartment pursuant to Islip Town Code Section 68-616. Residence A District, north side of Merrill Street, 150 feet west of Marshall Avenue, Brentwood.
Good evening. My name is Joseph Padilla. I'm the son of the owner of the house. I'm here to represent him today. And this is my sister. She lives in the apartment.
She's gonna stay in the apartment and
Yes,
parents are gonna live in the,
yes.
and in the past, we granted 6 months.
Yes. 3 years, I believe.
No,
The last one was,
Oh, the last one was 6 months, yes.
yeah.
What was the basis of that?
We had a neighbor concern about the number of cars.
Number of cars and trash. He's saying trash would accumulate with more people, but we've had the same people for over years.
So we're not going to hear from anybody who wants to step up and say that we're going to.
Probably the same guy.
I'm sorry?
Probably the same guy. He's called the town a couple of times. He's called the cops a couple of times. It's always the same. He does. I have no objection. Yes. Yes.
Good evening, members of the zoning boards of appeals. My name is Anson, A-N-S-O-N, last name Guerrero, G-U-E-R-R-E-R-O. I reside at 127 Merrill Street. Now, I would like to start by stating to the right of their residence. Yes. So I would like to start by stating that following our last board meeting, there's been a slight but hopefully not temporary improvement regarding my neighbor and tenants parking in front of my house, although the number of vehicles are still present at this residence and therefore still leaves a concern that this may in the future become a problem again. Now, there has been no interaction between either party since then, except for 2 occasions, one of which just a courtesy exchange of packages delivered to the wrong address between me and Mr. Padilla's son. Unfortunately, the second was not so pleasant. It occurred literally right after the weekend of our last board meeting, which was May 9th, 2023. Suffolk County PD had to get involved when a resident at Mr. Padilla's home began to harass a guest of mine for parking in front of their home during my daughter's birthday celebration at my residence. Now, in addition, that individual went as far as to state to my guest that she had a letter from her attorney indicating that no one was to park in front of their home. As we all know, that is complete false, as the streets are public property. And if it were to be true, that is an abuse of power. This deception on her. Yep. Okay.
You were here at the last.
Yes, sir. And I provided you with the list of vehicles. I provided you with the list of vehicles at that residence.
And you gave us a list of all the things that you found not good.
Correct.
And now that was.
Correct.
Has it gotten better?
The parking situation has. There's been an instance or 2 with garbage, but they've cleaned up their act. As
Don't get involved with neighbors.
yeah, which is fine.
Acted inappropriately or what happened, that's really not our.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that the garbage and the car problems, solve them.
Garbage, yes. Cars, there's still 10 cars at this residence.
That was the problem last.
Now, I provided you all with a list of vehicles currently there. There have been some exchange of cars, which it's normal. People buy cars all the time. But I have given you the year, make, model, and license plate numbers of each. As well as in that, you will see pictures of everything. I'm not making this up. No offense, guys. I'd rather be home, rather be with my kids, my wife, or at the gym or something. And I also provided the police report from the weekend of the incident.
How many cars are parked?
Yeah, it's because there was a lot of you guys, that's why.
We thought, we gave it a short, 6 months ago, to, thought this was going to be rectified, and I'm looking at the photograph.
Now, sir, if may I interrupt you? If you look up, right here, this is a prime example. As I'm not, lying about this. You can see In the driveway, there's 1, 2, 3.
But we don't know when this vote, we don't know when this area.
I could tell you it's pretty recent.
We don't know if it was 6 months ago or what.
I bought the house in 2022, so you can go back.
See how they've done in the 6 months going forward.
Yeah, so-
This was the prior 6 months, yeah.
Oh, yeah, so-
We don't know if this is post-May.
Those cars, this is actually a newer photo than what is on Google Earth Pro. Of course. Yep. No, I haven't, due to the fact that, they have been more considerate of parking in front of our house. It's just that our concern is if this permit gets approved, what's to say that there won't be any more cars or more cars involved? But the number of cars is still there. No, that should conclude it. You're welcome.
Anyone else besides the applicant that'd like to be heard in this?
Mr. Mendoza, if I may.
Yes.
I don't know when that's taken, but that's totally unacceptable. Look at that. How many cars do you count? Why don't you tell us?
I can tell you,
Yeah, tell me. Go ahead, count.
most of those cars will be mine.
Count. Tell me.
1, 2, 3, 4, 8 cars.
How is that fair? That you have 8 cars unless somebody owns 4.
That would be me, sir, actually.
This is a more recent photograph. And how many
Yes.
cars?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 inside and 3 outside.
5, 6. How many cars do you usually have in the house?
I have 4, just me. Then my sister has 2 cars.
It's, it's 7 in the parking lot.
Yes.
At 7, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4 in front of your house. 11 cars.
That would be the neighbor's car.
How many do you usually have?
Usually, I have 4. Yes, I usually. Yes. One I got when I first started to drive. The next one I got was the Camaro. The one I got first was the Chevy Cruze. Yeah. I'm a technician. I can kind of afford it.
Yeah. All right, so is there anything else you'd like to say?
No, that's it.
Yes, I'd like to say something.
Oh.
My name is Ravela Padilla, and the address is 129 Mary Street. I live there Marbella Padilla. I lived there more than 10 years ago. When I get my first kid, I moved there because I like my kids to be close to because I don't really go out that much. So I like they to be close to my mother and father. I live there now. We lived there, I told you, more than 10 years ago. I have now 3 kids. I don't think this is gonna get like the neighbor says it's gonna be, if you give the permission to the apartment, it's nothing's gonna be changed because I'm living there. I don't gonna have any more, more kids. And my kids are gonna grow up, of course. They're gonna grow up, they're gonna need a car, yes. But if they're gonna grow up, maybe we can move or it's nothing gonna be changed.
Yeah, my brother. No.
No, we have one more brother.
Yes. Yes.
My mom and father and the 3 kids and my partner.
And my partner.
Yes. Also,
The letter from Mr. and Mrs. Guerrero is that there are
Like he says, we cannot tell the people to move the car from the outside. I tell the lady that he was telling the accident with the neighbor, with the body of her girl. I tell the lady because my mom said, you guys give no permit any cars over there. So I told the lady to please move the car because we have some water from the court. And the lady was very angry. He started moving the car, and she said, I gonna call the town to you. And then she moved the car, and we go home. After maybe 20 minutes, the police come and I arrest her. I told her something that I didn't tell. So we had that problem. We cannot tell the people to move the car in the streets, you know.
All right, so we're gonna take a motion to reserve on this then?
Make a motion?
Okay, we'll reserve it. All right, decision's been reserved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next. Glasses. Application number 148-24, Linda McCucci, permission to establish two-family family use only pursuant to 68-419.1 to erect roofed over entry platform leaving side yard of 10.33 feet instead of required 14 feet, roof line alteration leaving side yard of 12 feet instead of required 14 feet, and second story addition 27.5 by 31.3 irregular, all having floor area ratio of 32% instead of permitted 25%. To leave shed not having 20 feet behind the front line of the dwelling, pool patio having side yard of 0.4 feet instead of required 6 feet, patio having side yard of 1.4 feet instead of required 4 feet, and patio having rear yard of 3.1 feet instead of required 4 feet. Residence B District, 278 Cluster District, north side of Spring Meadow Drive, 171.72 feet east of Woodley Court, Holbrook.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Len Crick, Island White Permit Services, office at 86 Center Street in Ronkonkoma. Also with me is the owner, Linda McCucci, and her son-in-law, Stephen Pinamonti. Mrs. McCucci is a long-standing member of the Holbrook community who would like to establish family use only for her property at 160 Spring Meadow Drive. A background letter that we submitted with our application mentions that this family is a casualty of COVID, with Mrs. McCucci's husband, Al, and their oldest son both passing away within 6 months of each other just prior to vaccine availability. As a result, everybody involved wants to circle the wagons and bring the family together under one roof. A proposed second-story addition to accommodate these family use also brings us here to address a couple of relatively minor roof over and roof line setback issues, as well as an FAR of 32%. The FAR of 32% versus the permitted 25% is significant, but previous board decisions have established precedents within the immediate vicinity. I did submit an aerial shot showing 3 of the properties within the community and photos of the front view of the properties.
Other than the FAR,
Mhm.
Len, do we need to add rear yard landscaping? Are you still seeking relief for that?
Rear yard landscaping was on the denial issued by zoning, but it is not on the agenda here.
So you're asking us to include it?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
So rear yard
The board wouldn't
landscaping,
mind, apparently there was another denial written that showed that the applicant needed relief on rear yard landscaping. It's minimal, it's 38.9 or 37.9%.
37.9 versus 40%.
One at a time.
You allow 43.5.
No, that was front yard occupancy.
That's another side of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a whole different ballgame.
Okay.
37.9.
Mr. McCabe is our rear yard specialist. What do we allow in rear yard?
Planning, do we have precedent for 37.9?
There wouldn't be.
I certainly allow 37.9.
What does the code require?
40.
There was one other thing in regards to the.
What is it now?
That's all going to be moved back onto the property, the fence and the shed there. On that side.
That's to the paper street.
No,
You
that's
want to go
actually,
37.5 is our new rear yard.
Sure.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
No, we
That
go
property
always,
there
we
is
always
owned
go down
by,
to 30.
Bilco.
Okay, the right of way.
It's not a right of way now.
Okay.
These?
You get down to 30.
So they shed.
I'm my advisor
Do
here.
we need to make this subject to them bringing that into compliance? Or
I mean, they will have to comply with that part of it. They need to take their fence shed out of adjacent parcel. Can't grant them anything they don't want.
Right.
Right, okay. That's what we're saying to that.
Yes, please.
Mr. McCabe, do you want to take care of this one?
Yes, I would ask that we amend the call to reflect a rear yard of 37.9.
Instead of required 40, yep.
That is required 40.
And approve the application?
Is he ready for that?
And the balance of the application, I'd make a motion to approve the application.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Application's amended and approved.
Thank you.
Here.
What's new standard, Bill?
37.5?
We go down.
Yeah.
Okay, before I call the next one.
The jungle
it'll
gym.
take a little while. Should we call back up the, so, Janora, if you just wait a second, we're just going to call back up an earlier case. Yeah, let me get them another one first. We're calling back up the application of Kimberly Fiscaldo, 144-24. Yes, prior page at the bottom. Mhm.
Okay.
So, where are we with the garage?
So I've consulted with my client and she has agreed to reduce the size of the structure to be less than 500 square feet.
But we're gonna still keep the 3.3 side of it?
The 3.3 would remain.
We'll leave it as, I mean, you have it by 20, in the call of the meeting, you have 12 by 20.1 feet. You want to make it, what size do you want us to put it?
What the,
Just remove the benches?
yeah, we were gonna move portion of the back wall 2 feet. We're gonna move an 11-foot section of the left side of the structure 2 feet. We'll reduce the structure 2 feet.
All right, so what we'll do then is we'll amend the call of the meeting to read, in addition to detached garage having side yard of 3.3 feet instead of required 4 feet.
Make that motion.
And I'll take a second on that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so the meeting is, the amendment, the call has been amended. And there was no other issues on the rest of it. Everything else. So I'll take a motion on the overall application then.
I'll make the motion now. Grant.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I appreciate your cooperation. Thank you.
Okay, and we also had an applicant that didn't arrive before, so we're just going to see if they possibly have shown up. And that would be the application of Karen Rincon and Dixon Sanchez. All right, everybody. We are now at application 149-24, William and Lauren Demuth. Permission to erect one-story addition, 13.5 by 24, leaving side yard of 5.25 feet instead of required 14 feet. Total side yards of 21.95 feet instead of required 28 feet. To leave shed not having 20 feet behind the front line of the dwelling, and driveway having side yard of 2.75 feet instead of required 4 feet. Residence A District, west side of Manor Lane, 650 feet north of 7th Street, Bay Shore.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Gennaro Cozzolino for the homeowners, William and Lauren DeMuth of 980 Manor Lane, Bay Shore, also known as Section 416, Block 3, Lot 22, located in a Residence A zone. We're requesting relief from the board to build a 13.5 by 24-foot attached garage. The proposed addition requires a variance for minimum side yard setback, requesting to build at 5.25 feet from permitted 14 feet, a difference of 8.75 feet. Variance for total side yard setback, requesting to build at 21.95 feet from permitted 28 feet, a difference of 6.05 feet. The proposed driveway extension also requires a variance for side yard setback, requesting 2.75 feet from permitted 4 feet, a difference of 1.25 feet. And there's an existing shed that requires a variance for distance from front line of the house, requesting to maintain 16 feet from permitted 20 feet, a difference of 4 feet. The additions will have no significant impact to the environment, will not affect any of the adjacent properties, and will fit in with the character of the neighborhood. Thank you. As far as I know, there is no precedence.
You have to grant everyone at 5.25.
5.25 feet. Correct. It is an attached garage, however. They would like a garage like all the other homes on the block.
Thank you for William DeMuth, 980 Manor Lane. I am the homeowner. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak to you. Just want to say that my wife and I moved to the neighborhood, Bay Shore, 2 years ago from Amityville. We are quite pleased with the neighborhood. We have 2 young girls. We go to school in the district. Very much like the neighborhood, very much like the neighbors. We take immaculate care of the lawn. If anybody drives past, might see that. And my hope is that this board will consider, when we moved into the house, there was no garage. They had already converted the garage to a livable space, and we are running short on room. And so our hope here is that we can get a garage, functional garage that we can pull into, get our girls in and out of the house without having to worry about the rain. And of course, some additional storage. At this point, we are out of storage. We have 2 sheds on the property as it is, and they are filled. And so our hope is, rather than to make this become an outdoor storage thing, to frankly just make the neighborhood better. So we're hoping for your considerations in that regard, and I'll give it back to Gennaro if you have any questions.
Anyone else would like to be heard in this application?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, if it helps the case, we would like to reduce the size of the garage. The minimum size we could fit in there is 10.5 feet, which would give us a new setback of 8.25 feet instead of the 5.25 feet. We would like to adjourn then, yes. Yes, please. Yes, yes, please, yes.
Understanding that.
Before the addition.
For the
There are
addition.
two
How much do they have to work in?
Okay.
that magic number in the sky.
Call the planning department. Very good, thank you. Thank you.
Second.
You don't have to call me.
I don't have to call the, for,
Nope, planning.
for the German date.
After you have a proposal, we'll give you an adjournment.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Okay. Application number 150-24, 90 Nikon Realty LLC. Permission to leave 3 walls. Wall 1, 2.8 foot in height, on rear property line not having a required setback of 4 feet. Wall 2, 3.25 feet in height, having side yard of 3.3 feet instead of required 4 feet. And wall 3, 5.1 foot in height, having side yard of 1.6 feet instead of required 5.1 feet. And to leave curb cut 1.4 feet from existing curb cut, not having a required separation of 25 feet. Industrial 1 District, west side of Nikon Court, 252.2 feet south of Rabro Drive, Hauppauge.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is John Armentano. I'm a partner with Farrell Fritz. We're here representing the applicant on the subject property. Are submitting some helpful handbooks for you. This is a site on 90 Nikon in the Hauppauge industrial area. We're here tonight seeking, in my opinion, several de minimis variances to legalize existing conditions. Just to familiarize yourself with the site, and I'm also here tonight with Anthony Racconelli, the property owner, Michael Moranis from Insight Engineering, and Phil Monastero, the architect for the application. If you have any technical questions, which I hope there aren't any. Well, the walls, if you were familiar with the property, these walls, the property is set kind of in a hollow down in this industrial park. If you can't see the grade changes, I do have a photograph. We have some site location photographs, exhibit 1 and 2. Exhibit 3 is some historic aerials. This property was constructed in 1974. Correct.
And it's lower than the surrounding area.
That's correct. Basically, there's a toe of the slope. It keeps it from kind of eroding into the parking lot. I mean, there is a photograph of the existing walls. Exhibit 5 will show you one is a masonry block wall. You'll see in the exhibits that the height wall is 5.1 feet. That's one of the walls. There are 3 walls at issue. The issue with respect to the walls are their setbacks. Right, you're down about, I'd say 40 feet. I mean, we're definitely in a hollow. PC Richards is up about 50 feet. So this is, and you'll see exhibit 5.
You're surrounded by industrial areas on all sides.
Correct. Some of that's New York State property, so, yeah, right by the, so if you, and to keep the property, the dirt and the erosion of the hill. And you'll see there's another exhibit it's a retaining wall. They're very de minimis, right? The variances that are requested are from the setbacks. Wall 1 is on the property line with the 0 setback. Well, 2 and 3, well, 2 is 3.3, requirements of 4. In this location, the property to the, I'd say the east has a similar type of retaining wall. Because we're really down in a hollow. These walls have been, yeah.
This is a.
Dead end, I mean, it looks like.
It does, it backs at the very end of the, yes, the cul-de-sac there.
Well done.
Correct.
Anyone else would like to be heard in this application?
Second.
Thank you.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, let me talk about it. I'm with your negotiating.
It was hot pot. He took it. All of it took it. You got to restore order here, Mr. Chairman.
Application number 82-24. Angel Nelson Velasquez and Maria Velasquez. Permission to leave cellar entrance having side yard of 6.3 feet instead of permitted encroachment setback of 8 feet and driveway onside property line currently encroaching, not having a required setback of 4 feet. Residence B District, east side of Madison Avenue, 168.2 feet north of Spruce Street, Brentwood.
Hello. My name is Erica Velasquez, and I'm the daughter of Angel Velasquez, who's right behind me. We reside at 82 Eisenhower Avenue in Brentwood, but he is the homeowner of 13 Madison Avenue in Brentwood. Regarding the driveway, I mean, honestly, it's been there over 20 years. The other people in the back of the room are the owners of are the neighbors of where the driveway, is encroaching, as you guys say, or, so they are here to state that they're okay with it. We haven't had any complaints from any neighbors or anybody ever. So it's just sort of asking for permission to just like appeal it and give permission for it to just kind of stay as is.
Over on their property.
So then, yeah, so then that's fine. So then our question would be, what would you like us to do? Do you want us to like cut the driveway down a little shorter or?
You.
Okay. So,
Give you permission to use other people's property.
correct, I understand that, yeah. So then, because it's saying, it says 6.3 feet instead of the permitted encroachment setback of 8 feet.
That's a cellar entrance.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. So then,
So with the cellar entrance, not gonna cover that, right?
no, so we got a bunch of inspections done and everything. We followed all the protocol you guys had instructed, and everything has passed up until this point. So this is really our last step. To be completely honest with you, I'm not very familiar with how these processes work. So we're just following what we were told to do by like the town and all that. Oh, no, we're not. No, as the way it is how it's staying. Yeah. And it's all up to code now. Okay. Okay.
On the driveway.
No, so that's the whole thing. The property it was as is. Again, there was just some code violations that we had to take care of, and the driver was part of it. So we're just following all the steps you guys had asked for. But we had no plans of doing anything, to be honest.
We're not granting that.
But we're willing to, make any adjustments that you guys would like, but we just want to kind of get it. Okay. Which, according to the picture, where would that be, just so I have a reference?
Yeah.
Okay, so only up to the property line. If anything that goes over that, we would have to adjust accordingly then. Okay.
No, we can't give you anything over the property line. Right.
Mhm. Okay,
Only a judge can give you rights to that.
okay. That's fine.
You have to be a judge of general jurisdiction. Unlimited.
Okay. Does anyone else would like to be heard in this application?
Do they want to support you?
Would you like to?
Yeah,
come
you
and speak?
certainly can come up and speak. Unlimited jurisdiction.
Good evening. My name is Guadalupe Escobar. Oh. Okay, my name is Guadalupe Escobar. That's the name before the Mr. 11 Madison Avenue, Brentwood, New York. I wanted help to my son to jump.
What's your name and address?
My name is Jamie Escobar. I live at 11 Madison Avenue in Brentwood. I am his son. I'm just helping translate.
Okay, yo lo puedo decir en español y tú lo dices en inglés. El problema que había ahí es, desde hace años lo sé yo nunca he tenido problema con el señor para la propiedad, pero ahora que se presenta la oportunidad que él arregle la línea de su propiedad hasta donde llega, pues es bueno que es para no dejar problemas en el futuro para otros compradores que vengan.
Basically, all he's saying is that he's never really had an issue with the driving being there, but if it's better off, he prefers that they fix it so he can have his property, they have their whatever it is, so everything is set and there's no issues in the future. Yeah, it's basically, yeah, that's basically what I was explaining to him too before. Yeah, everything is. All right, thank you guys.
Anyone else would like to be heard?
Sorry.
Correct. Okay.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys.
Okay, so we have 12 accessory apartments to renew for a period of 3 years.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
We have two-family families only to renew for a period of 3 years.
Motion.
Second. Second. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you. And we don't have any applications to read in tonight. So that's a wrap, Ken.